an exceptionally offensive waste of my time.
Good evening, cuties. I have just finished edits on my latest vlog where I read 4 autumnal black girl horror and thriller and fantasy books, and all of those books were incredible. That vlog is linked down below, and this is just going to be a continuation. I am starting this off with The Dark Place by Brittany S. Lewis. I'm reading that physically, and I'm also in the middle of the audiobook for Bones of Ruin by Sarah Raleigh. So those are going to be the first 2 books that we talk about in this vlog. I am going to bed. It took me like 4 hours to edit the last vlog, and I just couldn't help it but start The Dark Place. I'm only on page 20 and already I have thoughts because Brittany S. Lewis is amazing. She wrote The Undead Truth of Us, which is a criminally underrated romantic zombie speculative horror thriller. It's just a work of freaking art, and I was so excited for The Dark Place. It is one of my most anticipated releases, and so far it is not disappointing. Essentially, we're following a 17-year-old girl named Hailey whose life turns upside down when she realizes that she can just vanish. She vanishes in the middle of her home one day and reappears at another house. And these disappearances and reappearances are known to her as the Dark Place, where she goes into a dark place and starts seeing really messed up things. That has already happened. The opening scene kind of is the first time that she goes into the dark place, and her parents are like, what the fuck? Because they watch her disappear and then ship her off to her grandmother. This is a trope that I really like, and it's rough seeing how her grandmother is definitely, you know, loves her, but is also very afraid of her. I'm loving all of it. Brittany S. Lewis does such an amazing job with her characters and expanding them. I easily could get to the 50-page mark before going to bed, but I think that I'm not going to remember or retain anything. That's part of the reason why I'm filming this update, because I might not remember anything about this book in the morning if I don't talk about it before bed. Why don't I just go to bed and we will see each other tomorrow, or later today, or not at all because you're watching this on a screen.
It's just, oh, this book is so good. Experimental and medical racism will get us every single time, and we just have this awful skin crawling sensation. It's, oh my god, it's so good. Do you ever listen to an audiobook as you drive and your heart is just pounding? Because we've gotten more answers about Iris and those like her and where they came from and like how they came to be the way that they are. Hitting on one of our favorite tropes.
More times than I can get out. Down in the deep of my mind, I crawl for you and you're always inside. Down in the deep of my mind, how long do I got to keep you, to keep you? Down in the deep of my mind, I crawl for you and you're always inside. Down in the deep of my mind, trying so hard not to keep you, to keep you.
I hate the trope of best friends growing apart and unreciprocated friendship. I know it has to happen, but it hurts every time, and I just hope she and Lucia get it together, because I hate friend breakups. They fucking suck. And when the one person that you love and need the most doesn't have your back, it hurts indescribably. That being said, the book is amazing. I'm on page 62. It's so fucking good. I'm trying to figure out what this is, this disappearance that she has, and she does it in front of other people so people know about it, which I like, instead of it just being like the secretive thing that happens and she has to hide it. I like that it's out there in the open. It's definitely fracturing her already fractured family. Apparently her brother disappeared a few years ago as well, and there's like a hide and seek element, and she reaches into her pocket and pulls out her brother's coin that was not there, and it's all just so Stranger Things and curious, and I'm very excited. I'm screaming! Can you imagine what life would be? Could you imagine what my life would be like if I were in therapy? No? Well, me either. Brittany is incredible at writing atmosphere. The darkness wrapped itself around me like a tourniquet, pressing into me until I felt my heartbeat throbbing against my neck. That's how the chapter opens. Give it a Pulitzer. The light from the porch seeped through the blinds to reveal the little girl with no eyes. She was hunched in a squatting position beside me, breathing deeply, her nostrils flaring as her chest rattled. It's giving what the fuck. Ooh, look at book mail.
What's up, cuties? It is next day. Get it? And I just met, well, actually a few hours ago, I met up with a friend that I haven't seen in a very long time. And we met up in the suburb, and because we met at like 3 o'clock, and by the time we ended up parting, it was 4, and I didn't want to drive through the crazy traffic to get back to Minneapolis. I just stayed there and read The Dark Place, and I did an Instagram live reading of it, so if you want to see that, that's up. But I'm officially on page, I think I'm at 214, and the book has 330 pages roughly. And I wanted to update you on my thoughts on The Dark Place as well as The Bones of Ruin, because I have an incredible amount of thoughts on both. So first off, when it comes to The Dark Place, I love that our protagonist is very mistrustful. She is really slow to make decisions. She doesn't trust anybody but herself. And she's even in a period where she doesn't trust herself because she doesn't know why she keeps disappearing and reappearing. And it is realized that it's some form of time travel, some form of alternate universes. And in this other alternate universe, she is always in her house reliving the day that her brother went missing 9 years ago. And as of 214, you're slowly getting more answers. You're getting the bigger picture. And it's so upsetting because I have issues with her parents. Like, her parents can get these hands, especially her pops, like, and her mom. They make me so mad. I get why they're doing what they're doing, but just nope, I can't mess with it. I'm so frustrated with her parents and like how she's treated by the adults in her life who are supposed to have her back and be giving her love and support, but they themselves don't have that capacity for love and support right now, so they can't give it. But it's still upsetting. Nobody writes a slow burn romance like Brittany. Nobody writes a slow burn romance like Brittany S. Lewis, and every word is poetic and beautiful. Like, these lines are ripping my heart out of my body. It's such a pretty freaking book, just as lyrical and gorgeous and hauntingly written as her debut, The Undead Truth of Us. So just absolutely loving that as well. I think that's all I'm gonna say about that right now off of the top of my head. But as far as Bones of Ruin go, the audiobook is the way to go if you are reading Bones of Ruin. I'm sure the physical is amazing. I have the physical book, but the audiobook is really, really good. It's very, very well done, and it's just sucking me into the story. I fell asleep listening to it last night, and the narrator's voice, absolutely incredible. And what I'm loving, I've said this before and I'll say it again, it's definitely giving The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen meets this semi just moved over in my lane, like with no regard for my life, so I love that for me. It's giving The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen meets X-Men, and every reveal is incredible. Same with not Undead Truth of Us, I keep wanting to call it her debut. The same with Dark Place. Every single reveal is amazing, and I'm loving it so fucking much. The mystery, you're finally finding out where Iris came from, and I was not expecting that. You're finally finding out some answers, who you can trust and who you can't, and how all these characters are together, and they're getting closer to where they're forced to participate in this tournament. It's called the Tournament of Freaks, and there's just more commentary about medical racism and eugenics, and how even when people of color throughout history are praised for certain abilities and talents, there's still an air of, look at the freak show, look what the freaks can do, that kind of thing. It's really, really good. I'm so impressed with Sarah Raleigh, honestly. The writing's amazing, the slow burn romance, and it's fun. It's action-packed, the combat scenes are amazing, but what is really getting me is these abilities that these characters have. Like, one character is basically Gambit, and if you've been following me for years, you know how obsessed I am with Gambit. It's like part of the reason why I started the TBR cards. This character is like this little girl who's like 5 feet tall, redhead with a bowl cut. I don't know if she's a kid or not, but she's amazing at stealing and talking and kind of like pulling the wool over your eyes and like moving hands really fast so that you can't really see what she's actually up to. And she has this ability to make paper razor sharp, and she can move cards with her mind and throw them to hit their target. There's one boy who can explode, one boy breathes fire, and one boy can control time in certain increments, but only if he holds his breath. It's so fucking cool, you guys. Like, I love this book. Both of these books are on track to be 5-star reads, and I'm definitely gonna finish The Dark Place like the second I get home. So that's all I have for you right now. The day was good. I got the apple crisp latte from Starbucks, and it was actually really, really good. That's all, folks. I'm gonna, for the rest of the day, just be working on Patreon content, as well as preparing for videos that I have coming up, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, cuties.
Major plot twist on page 274. Major. Almost as big as the plot twist in Monday's Not Coming. Did not see this coming, I'll tell you that. No one knows how to write devastation like Brittany. No one. Hi, cuties. It's pretty late. It is 4 in the morning, and I have been doing laundry and working on my fall reset video that my patrons voted on for about the last 4 hours. 5 hours, actually. I pulled a bunch of clothes out that I just don't want anymore. I have so many clothes and I just need to get rid of them. So I have 4 bags of clothes that I need to donate and 2 bags of clothes that I am going to take to a resale boutique. And while doing that, I listened more to the audiobook for Bones of Ruin, and the name appeared in the text, the name of the book, and that's like just something I always get really excited about, and the title makes so much more sense now. I'm a lot more emotionally connected to the story. We're at the tournament part, and I just really appreciate how long it took us to get there, and I just love these characters so much. I love Iris. She has the temper of a goddess and the will of a goddess and the heart of a tender mortal. She's smart, but she can be so bloodthirsty when she needs to. And I really, really love a protagonist like that. I love a protagonist who has a big heart, but isn't afraid to fight for themselves or their friends and what they believe in, regardless of how brutal the outcome may be. And before bed, I wanted to read something physical. I could not find my physical copy of Bones of Ruin. I found just the jacket in my book room, so that means the physical copy is just floating around somewhere. I decided to start The Witchery. This is by S. Isabel, and it is their debut. I'm not certain what pronouns. Okay, so Isabel uses she, her pronouns, and pretty sure, yep, so this is her debut young adult novel, and it is very, very much giving me the Craft vibes, which I grew up on that movie.
Get it, witch.
This is a story about 4 witches. This one here on the end, her name is Logan, and she moves to town without being able to control her powers, and her powers just don't work the way that they're supposed to, even though she comes from a very magical family. And she is accepted into the Red Trio, which is this just legendary trio of black witches who believe that she is the key to stopping this curse on the town. And the town is really interesting because the town worships witches, and this is because many years ago during the Salem witch trial era, witches were attacked in this town, and 3 witches decided that that was never going to happen again. They call non-magical folk mundanes, which we really like, and so they curse the town with these wolves that come out just after every Halloween. And the book takes place, it opens up on Halloween, which is pretty cool, and these wolves just kill everybody. And one of the witches kind of grew a conscience, and her last act was to create give this boy called Wolf Boy the ability to stop the curse on the town. But Wolf Boy died, and now generations later the town is still being plagued, and they're searching for the new Wolf Boy. But the magic is so freaking cool. It's amazing. They and each of the witches have very different abilities. So one of them, Talia, has earth magic and growth magic, which we love. And then Iris is a necromancer and can communicate with the dead. And then Jyla, what can she do?
I can't remember what Jyla can do.
And then Logan is basically like an amplifier, and there's tether magic where when you meet your person and you tether to them instantly, and it can be a romantic thing or not, but I've always loved binding magic. I'm just really touched to see that in here. It's really fast paced. I got to page 100 so quickly. It's just so bingeable, and I want to stay up all night reading it, but I know it's just gonna mess up my day. So a lot that I can say. You get to follow all 4 POVs of the girls, and so far we have 2 POVs of boys in the town that are connected to the girls in some way, and it's just really good. It's so fun. I really want to watch The Craft now. I'm so glad that I'm finally reading this book, and I'm gonna force myself to go to bed, but I'm gonna listen to the audiobook of Bones of Ruin until I fall asleep. Good night. Hello, darlings, and good morning. It is the next day, and I woke up at 8 to just pouring rain. And I was like, wow, the universe is saying to read The Witchery, and that's what we're gonna do. This is today's outfit of the day. I call it pajamas and sweats and joggers. Let's get to reading. Everyone's making bad decisions. All of the choices that these girls have made in the last 15 pages are bad ones. Real bad. Not I think we all deserve chamomile tea. You all deserve to be excommunicated.
I'm sorry, but this man just tore a girl's face off and ate it. Is this a horror book or a YA fantasy? He ate her fucking face. On a scale of I hate your face to I'm gonna rip it off and eat it, where do you fall? I'm honestly so shook by how brutal this book is. I just read one of the longest, most detailed, gruesome fight scenes that I've ever read in my life. Like, I'm horrified. And I'm impressed. I loved every second of it. This book is fucked up, though. Like, fucked up from the ground up. You know what I'm saying?
Hello cuties, just wanted to come on and say hello. I am currently on my way to this incredible exhibit that a friend recommended, and it is one that is an interactive installation on Black incarceration, Black youth incarceration. So we're very, very excited, especially because Black youths, Black and brown youths who were and or are incarcerated were a part of the installation, so we're really, really looking forward to going. This exhibit was one of the most painful things I've ever witnessed. If you're unfamiliar with the massive issue that is youth incarceration, please educate yourself on it. It was incredibly painful hearing these firsthand accounts of what these kids are enduring in prison, in jail, instead of getting help, instead of being given access to resources, instead of being loved. The various ways that the criminal justice system and our education system consistently fails children of color is heartbreaking. It's really difficult for me to talk about the things that I saw in this exhibit, but I do love that at the end of the exhibit, it focused on ways to reimagine youth liberation and ways to reimagine the system for kids to actually succeed and get the help that they need. It was really beautiful.
What's up, cuties? Hello. On our way to get our eyelashes touched up, and I'm listening to the audiobook for The Shadow Coven. I think that's what the follow-up to The Witchery is called. Pretty sure it's The Shadow Coven. The Witchery, we gave a 5 out of 5 stars, mainly because we read it through the lens that we would have as a teenager. And I think as a teenager, I would have been so head over heels for that book, for the story of 3 magical Black girls forming a friendship with a new girl and saving their town, saving themselves, being Black girls, and just messy and all of that. And so far, The Shadow Coven is even better, in my opinion, because the big events that were that the first novel, The Witchery, was surrounding around has been resolved, but there's still this lingering fear. So all of these girls are dealing with their own fear in very different ways, and each of them had very different repercussions. Get it? Repercussions, because one of them's a death witch, for having been involved in what they were involved in, if that makes sense. It's really good, so it just feels like the stakes are higher. It feels like the girls are older. It feels like their friendships are more solidified in some ways and like tested in others. And I just, so far, definitely Jyla and Talia, I think of myself as like a mix between those 2 witches, and they're definitely my favorite. I like Logan. I didn't think that I would. I still have my reservations about Iris, but I understand who she is and why she is who she is, and I love her just the same.
Hello, messy bathroom moment. But I have just noticed, I've been editing all day. It is another really, really, really rainy, overcast day. It's only 5 o'clock and it's so dark. I've just really been enjoying editing this vlog and watching it back and reliving reading these books. So I wanted to do a check-in because I'm about to start some more books for this vlog, and I want to let y'all know where I'm at right now. Oh, there we go. Ew, why is that wet? So I completed The Witchery. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I really, really loved the way that Blackness and Black girlhood was represented. There was celebration for all types of Black bodies and skin colors. I really loved it. I loved the female-female solidarity, the sisterhood in it. All of that was amazing. I'm not done with Bones of Ruin yet. I have 2 hours of the audiobook left. I found out what happened to my physical. I forgot that I loaned it to a loved one who is also going to be reading it, and I know she's gonna fall head over heels for these characters just as I have. But the Bones of Ruin, the representation of Blackness is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, but it's also beautiful and loving. I really, really adore it. The Dark Place was amazing representation for a grieving Black girl, and I thought that it just was a love letter to Black families and the struggles of Black families, and also just being a family and what you go through, the things that you do to protect your loved ones and such. So Bones of Ruin, especially between Bones of Ruin and Blackoween, have put me in a really intense, like, serial killer-y reading mood. So the next book I'm going to be reaching for, I think, is American Psycho. And I'm very, very excited about that. No, it's not called American Psycho, it's called African Psycho, and it's about a black serial killer. I actually just finished a translated French novella about a black serial killer, and it was called At Night All Blood is Black. That book I highly recommend. It's such a quick read and you're absolutely not going to regret it. I might as well just talk about it here. I read it yesterday in one fucking sitting and then just raved about it to a few of my friends who were like up late. But basically it is set during World War I and you are following this black soldier who is wrestling with a lot of guilt over the fact that he killed his best friend on the battlefield. That's all I'm gonna say about that because I don't want to give any potential spoilers. However, the plot thickens when he is kind of driven to madness like by his own grief, and so he starts going out at night into the enemy camp and killing one soldier and bringing back his rifle with that soldier's severed hand. And everybody thinks it's cute until he brings back 3 and then it stops being cute, and he keeps doing it, and it's about like the way he tortures these people, and then you're also digging a bit into his past and his dynamics with this best friend to really understand why he is unraveling the way that he is. It is a really great representation for a sensitive, emotional psychopath, a person that is driven to madness, who is driven to sociopathy, not by nature, but by design. The ugliness, the brutality of war, and with the suffering that Palestinians are enduring. With everything that is going on in the world right now, past, present, future, these narratives are very, very important. That is basically that. I'll let you guys know what I end up picking up next. So I've got 2 hours before a watch party with my patrons for One of Us is Lying. We're on season 2, and we're gonna be watching episodes 4 through 7. Very geeked about that. I'm just like feeling so much more human now that I have gotten something on my face. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of hyaluronic acid on and just call it a day because it's already 5 and you know, I know I'm gonna do a face mask tonight or something. What is that? I'll check in with you guys later. I hope that all of you are well, that you're happy, that you're safe, that you're enjoying rainy weather if that is in your forecast today. And I will check in with you later.
So we are about to start African Psycho. What's up, cuties? So this book, I got to chapter 4. It is a much more like literary feel book than I anticipated. And it's nice because the last black serial killer book I read, which was At Night All Blood is Black, had a very Dostoevsky, Rakashnikov feel, and this has a really similar feel as well. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying watching this young abandoned boy slowly turn into a serial killer and follow his famed assassin whose name is Angolima. Angolima was the most famous of his country's assassins, and he is trying to kind of follow in his footsteps and achieve a similar amount of glory. Pretty good. Pineapple fried rice.
Oh, what? How insane is that? Oh, eat it, eat it, eat it.
Hello, cuties. Do you like the look? I am in the middle of reading African Psycho. Jan roasted this cover. She said that it gives Photoshop, but I actually quite like it. However, I also don't have a background in like graphic design or, you know, I'm sure I love a bunch of covers that are hideous. This is a little literary thriller novella that was written in 2003, and I'm on page 62 of what I would estimate to be like 150, and we're basically following this wannabe serial killer who has like a slew of failed attempts at murdering, and he really wants to be like his serial killing idol Angolima, and he is just like trying to plan the perfect crime, the crime that's going to make him remembered. And it's interesting because this is written in, I think, 2005, and the attitudes towards serial killers are very different now on the general public side, and also the way that serial killers are looked at in other countries is really interesting because it's different than in America. So obviously African Psycho, I don't know where in Africa we are. I need to look up the author's background, and I do know that they speak French, so I'm kind of thinking Senegal perhaps, but I'm unsure.
I was really hoping to be more fascinated with the protagonist than I am, but he's just very boring. He's very typical psychopath that hates women. Likes to brutalize women, although the brutalization isn't described, which is nice. But it's like definitely hinted at or referenced that he is a rapist, which I just have no interest in. It's very clear that he just doesn't have a high opinion of women. He will he will purchase services from sex workers and then fantasize about murdering them because he hates that he wasted his seed.
Like, sweetheart.
Your seed is not as precious as you think it is, and the fact that you call it your seed is probably the reason that you're single. He's just very boring. He's not a compelling serial killer. He's not a compelling murderer. Like I said, it's very Dostoevsky vibes, and I'm just getting through it. I did start annotating this book because it came to me from Pango with some very light underlining. So I was like, okay, I might as well just annotate it and then put it back up on Pango. I'm curious to see what I'm gonna end up rating it because I'm just not in love with it so far. But I'm not hating it, you know, at the same time. So we'll see where it goes. I want to be done. Continuing the reading and annotating process of African Psycho. And what we basically have annotated right now on this page is that this whole I was abandoned by a woman at birth and had to grow up in squalor, and so now I'm gonna kill every woman that I see in order to prove that I am not inferior and that I should go down in history thing is just not doing it for me. And I don't even mean it in like a self-righteous way. I mean it as like, it's genuinely boring. I'm genuinely bored by this man. And I'm really curious to know what the author set out to accomplish with this story. Because surely I'm missing some greater social commentary. Like, we're wondering if this entire character's purpose is to have dialogue on how women snubbing a man is not reason for him to hate women for the rest of his life, and how needing female validation and being able to access women's bodies is not a character trait. Like, that's not something that you should be revolving around. But I'm also just not convinced that this book is attempting that kind of womanist social commentary, and I just don't see the point. He's basically, if Holden Caulfield was a serial killer, and he still has yet to actually kill anybody. Like, he's still, for lack of better language, pussyfooting around the actual murder situation, and I'm starting to wonder if he is just trying to talk himself into it. Is he really the killer that he thinks he is, and maybe that's the point of the book? I don't know, but it's just not giving. It's not giving. It's so boring. I cannot express how funny this dude is and the things that he says. Like, I cannot. Now that he has finally gotten to the part where he's planning the murder and you find out why he's gonna murder Jermaine and all of these things, it has gotten more interesting because you also are learning more about Jermaine as a character who is a sex worker, and he's basically like moved her into his house and is fattening her up. So he's pretending to just like be trying to help her out, and he's just getting close to her so that he can kill her, and that her being killed by someone who's close to her will hurt her even more. But there's just little plot twists, and we are pages from the conclusion. So I'm enjoying it. Like, my enjoyment level has risen to a 3, and before it was at a 1. Hello cuties. So African Psycho has been completed. I'm gonna be giving it maybe like a 1.5, and my snarkily annotated copy is gonna be up on Pango for pretty cheap. But it is late. I'm listening to the audiobook for Mama Day by Gloria Naylor. This has been on my TBR for years, and all I know that is that it's a classic Black supernatural Southern horror. I'm listening to it on 1.5 as of now, and I have 7 hours and 53 minutes left. I just started it. I'm on chapter 1, like 2 minutes in. But as you can see, my face is getting greasy from makeup, so it's time to wash my makeup off and lay in bed and listen to this audiobook until I fall asleep. I found this book to be an exceptionally offensive waste of my time. I'm offended simply because my time was wasted. Not even offended on a socio-political level. I am simply offended. I saw the cover and I was like, oh, this looks really good. It was really cheap on Pango, so I purchased it. And that was a mistake. And the lie detector determined that that was a mistake. So it is very much rannotated. And I'm gonna be putting it up on my Pango for very cheap. Somebody please buy this from me. Please. If you like yourself a good pensive thriller that's more philosophical and on the literary end of thriller horror, African Psycho is probably going to be something that you really, really like. If you're a person who really loves classic literature, you'll probably really enjoy that. But do be prepared for the sexism of the main character. I didn't get the sense that that was how the author viewed women, but it is not something that's challenged in the text because of course you're only in this character's head, and I just wasn't for me. Are going to pack a bunch of Pango orders. I got 6 orders in the app recently and I'm super excited. So the way that I kind of keep my Pango prices down is by going to the dollar store and getting my shipping label stuff from there. But normally I just reuse boxes from like the books that publishers have sent me. However, I have pulled back on accepting books from publishers because I'm trying to unhaul books. So I had to go to the dollar store and get stuff to ship them. I also had to go to FedEx because I still haven't set up my printer yet. I don't know how and I need help. And I got the labels printed over at FedEx. Just sold the Golden Couple, thank God. I was so excited to get rid of that. I sold it on Pango for $1. I end up getting like 60 cents. And so with the cost of like shipping materials and stuff, it definitely, like, I don't make money from it, but that's not necessarily the point of my Pango right now. My point of my Pango is to just get rid of all these fucking books. I have this goal of getting rid of 250 books by the end of the year. So I'm going to pack these 6 orders. I'm very excited about the books that are going to get shipped out. I love putting like little swag in these packages. And I'm going to be listening to an audiobook. Oh, speaking of audiobooks, I DNF'd Mama Day. I have been wanting to read Mama Day for a very long time. It is like a black horror supernatural classic. The audiobook was up and I was laying in bed just bored as hell, and I gave it to chapter 3 and I just was like, no. In Mama Day, Naylor explores the relationship between Mama Day, a healer with the gift of second sight living in Willow Springs, a stateless island in town that is neither in South Carolina nor Georgia, and her sister, niece, and community. And I was bored. I was bored. That's just that. So I'm gonna pack orders and figure out what I want the last book of this vlog to be. I have not successfully read a good black horror in this vlog. In my last Black Girl Magic and Horror Noir vlog, I read some bomb horror thrillers, and I just haven't gotten that here. So I'm like, so let me figure out what to do. I'm kind of thinking of reaching for Jordan Peele's anthology. Yeah, I'm just gonna read this because I know Daddy Peele is not gonna let me down. Ooh. Okay, so these are all the orders that I have to ship. These go to the same person, and then the rest of these are singular orders, so I'm really excited to get these out. Y'all will remember me having read this for my experiment video where I pretended to be Gavin, and this is what he made me read. This was a DNF, a highly anticipated read that I DNF'd. I DNF'd this book. This one I also DNF'd. This one is a really extreme horror book that I enjoyed, but not enough to keep. This just is not for me, and this I just think will be better in the hands of somebody else. Let's get packing. Since this person ordered a horror book, I decided to throw in these cute little horror stickers. And then I have to go get a bookmark because I put a bookmark in all of my orders. So we're gonna set that one aside, but that one is done. We're gonna throw the handyman method in there as well. And since the cover of that book is red, I'm gonna give this person a Carrie sticker. these are the bookmarks that we are going to be putting in the packages, and I try to make sure the bookmarks match what's going in the bag if possible. Golden Couple, I don't really have a bookmark that is going to match, so I'm going to be putting this Greenlight Bookstore bookmark in there along with the stickers. And then this one is African Town, and so I am going to be giving them this Black Girls Book Club bookmark that is so freaking pretty. And if you would focus and get it together, there we go, so pretty. Like, look at this. So we're going to be putting that in along with the stickers. And then this one is Books of Blood by Clive Barker. I don't have one that is going to match perfectly. Oh, and I just realized this one has scratches on it, so I'm going to be swapping out this bookmark. But I think I'm just going to be putting Mark as Unread, this Book of the Month bookmark, in there. Then for the person who ordered Dick by Island and People Person by Candace Hardy Williams, I am going to be putting this in. This is from The Nature of Witches, and it's really fucking pretty. It says being an Everwitch means two things: you are powerful and you are dangerous. And the illustration that's on it is freaking gorgeous. I love it so much. This one is the Handyman Method, and I've already got stickers that match, so I'm going to be giving them this one. This says my favorite people are fictional, and it's really, really cool. Like, I love it. So I hope they like this bookmark a lot. Wild Spaces. So I'm going to see if I can find another one of these like celestial bookmarks for Wild Spaces, because I feel like it's just a similar theme, but this one has scratches on it, and so does this one, which I was going to put in the other box. So I guess I'll just be keeping these for myself, and I'm going to go find 2 replacement ones, and then I will stick the labels on these bad boys and bring them to the post office. They are all packed up. They're so pretty. I almost showed you everyone's address. Please don't sue me. Now I get to take the labels and put them on the packages, seal them up, and drop them off at the post office.
All right, so packages have been dropped off, and I realized that I still had like an hour of the Shadow Coven to finish. So for the last hour, I have been taking care of my plants, which is perfect because one of the witches is a green witch, and that was really nice, especially because the end of the book really focuses on her. So she was doing her witchy plant shit, and I was caring for my plants, and it was really nice. And I just really love this book. I ended up giving it a 5 star. It's just a really cozy, wholesome read with really good elements of darkness. Like, it's really well balanced between the tenderness and the like darkness of the novel. I think that these kids have matured so much. They have come so far, and there was a lot of betrayal in this book, plot twists that I didn't see coming. I really enjoyed the Shadow Coven, and where it ended was like, oh, perfect. So I can't wait for the 3rd book. And also I want to say that the 2 romances, the 2 hetero romances between 2 people in the coven just aren't doing anything for me. I just don't believe them. Like, the two of the girl witches are into 2 of the boy witches, and I just don't buy those relationships. They really just give friend vibes, but who cares? It didn't detract from my enjoyment of the story at all. However, the on again, off again queer relationship I really like, because there is history there, and their relationship just feels so much more believable. Yeah, but that is basically it. Now I'm gonna go home and read something else.
Down in the deep of my mind, I crawl for you and you're always inside. Down in the deep of my mind, how long do I got to keep you, to keep you? Down in the deep of my mind, I crawl for you and you're always inside. Down in the deep of my mind, trying so hard not to keep you, to keep
Goodness gracious darlings. The first two stories in this were incredible. If I don't rate the stories individually and take an average and do all of that with anthologies, because for me an anthology is its own work and it's about how well the book meets the theme of the anthology overall for me. I will say that the first story by Colin Barron was good. It was predictable but still really cool and creative. And then the second story, which I just finished, which was by Ashaya Monet. I have to double check how to say this author's name. That was incredible. It was really cool. It was basically about this woman, for lack of better words, who doesn't speak and is found wandering and is brought into a church, and it's discovered that she has healing abilities, and it gets really fucked up. I really like it, and I had to give an update because right now we're about to start All My Best Friends Are Dead by Laselle Sambury, who's one of my favorite horror writers and just people in general, so I'm really, really excited for Laselle's story. The stories are all so far like really good length, so I'm on page 33 right now. Let's get to it. What is a memory other than a story you tell yourself is a brilliant line. All right, cuties, so I completed Laselle Sambury's story and whew, that was amazing. And now I'm starting The Teeth Come Out at Night by Sammy Ellis. I love all of these illustrations. Like, oh my god, it's so amazing. Hey cuties, I feel like I'm like oddly out of focus. Am I? I don't know what the hell's going on. Hey cuties, so the third story, the one by Ellis, Sammy Ellis, I think, is about teeth and like children's teeth and horror surrounding teeth. So I know that's something that gets a lot of people. I'm really excited about it, and it is the longest story to date. It ends on page 74, so much longer than the other two stories. I unfortunately have plans for the evening. It's 7 o'clock, which means I have to start getting ready, so I will update tomorrow.
Look at her going to fucking town on that thing. Okay, I don't think she likes that we're looking at her. Let's move out.
Okay, I'm putting the hood up because our hair is atrocious. So it is Sunday. I just woke up. I did not get to sleep until about 5:30. I was listening to the audiobook for Vampires del Norte by Isabel Cañas, and it is amazing. So much better than I thought it was going to be, and I had pretty high expectations. So as of right now, I'm on page 136 of All These Sunken Souls, and I'm just really in love. The last story was by our very own Joel Rochester, and it was very good. And then currently I am in the middle of a story by Joelle Wellington, which I'm very excited about. So Joelle Wellington is the author of Their Vicious Games, which I read in a previous Black Girl Magic blog and loved so much. And this one is very similar. We are dealing with affluent, wealthy Black people, girl protagonists, familial, haunting, creepy ass inherited haunted house, and the house itself is a character and has its own narration process, and the main character who moves into the house after her grandmother dies is like slowly being consumed by the house. And it's really, really good. Her cousin just came over and said, this house isn't good for you. What do you mean? Vienna whispers. It rubs you raw. You'll start peeling, and I do not think you'll like the new skin. Joelle's writing is incredible. It is incredible. There was a line that made me laugh very hard. It said something like, there's nothing, oh, there it is. There is nothing more ladylike than blood play. I'm obsessed with this story. I think it is going to be my favorite story of the book so far, but potentially at all. She had sex with the house. With the house itself. So that's how that story went. What's up, cuties? So I finished The Landscape of Things and then Mother, Daughter, Devil. So The Landscape of Broken Things, I think that's what the story is called, is about clairvoyance and time. I didn't love that story, but I did think it was very, very clever. And people who are fans of science fiction are really going to enjoy it. And then Mother, Daughter, Devil, I really, really enjoyed. It was also the longest story in the book and got me to page 200. Very, very impressed. And I'm excited because the next story is by Ryan Douglas, who wrote The Taking of Jake Livingston, and I'm obsessed with Ryan and that book, so I can't wait. But for now, I'm going to have some frijoles refritos and chips and watch The Great North. And then I brought in all my plants from the outer porch because yesterday it was 32 degrees. So what I'm gonna do is find space for them throughout the house, and then hopefully I'll be able to finish this book. So I've only got 54 pages left, and Ryan's story is called Papa Pearly. I'm so excited to finish this book and talk to y'all about it and get my plants in order and then wrap up this vlog. I can't believe it's ending. Okay, so these are all the plants that need to be put away. Some more over there, and then there. So I have completed all these Sunken Souls and absolutely loved and adored it. 5 out of 5 stars. Even though there were 2 stories that I liked the least out of all of them, they still were really creative and presented something different than the other stories in the narrative did, which I can always appreciate. I immediately started Jordan Peele's new anthology. It opened up with a story by N.K. Jemisin. I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. And then now I'm reading the second story, which is by Rebecca Roanhorse. And it is incredible so far. So my next horror noir and Black Girl Magic vlog is definitely going to feature that Jordan Peele anthology. So stay tuned if you want to continue following my experience reading Black girl science fiction and fantasy, as well as Black folk horror books. In terms of how all of these books represented Blackness, I thought that they did an amazing job of representing Black experiences across the spectrum. I loved the casual queerness, I loved the creativity. I have absolutely no criticisms in that regard, even if some of the books in this vlog I enjoyed more than others. My previous Black Girl Magic and horror noir videos are going to be in the description box down below if you want to catch up on the series, as well as links to my Patreon. It is Hannibal the Cannibal themed. We do stuff together every single week and we have a blast. I just posted a video where I talked about the worst audiobooks that I've ever read, so I'm gonna go see how people are reacting to it in the comments, and I'll talk to y'all on Instagram or in my next video.